Welcome back, everybody. Part 3 of this, trying to break down, distinguish what we're going to buy, what kind of offer, and if we're going to make this happen. So, we've been through, check out the other parts if you guys are keeping up. Like I said, it's over an hour long. It's about an hour and a half long total segment, so we're trying to make the video chunks more realistic. So as you guys can see in the other ones, we already went through the unlimited white border power. We talked about the yellowing on the white border versus the white in addition to condition. You guys remember we went over this library, talking about all this inked. Okay. So final round here, we've already talked about a lot of these things. This video, we want to focus on the big dogs. We want to focus on the Lotus and these two interesting beta Mox jets. The big question marks. So, we're going to start and jump right into it. These two Mox jets, I am not going to purchase from this collection. I can't do it. I want to purchase it, but first things first, one of the two, the nicer of the two, I guess you could say, which is being very loosely about it, it's off color. It's faded. Now, I'm not saying it's counterfeit, but that makes people nervous. It's really rare, but I've seen some slight variations on things like that. But the problem is, it's just when you go to try to sell them or get a buyer or anything, people can get real jittery when they see an off-color one, and the condition's pretty rough. I mean, these are definitely very, very played cards. I mean, the surface corner's dense, light creasing in the corner. I mean, you've got just major issues, and the seller wants a very premium price point on this particular card, and there's just nothing I can do to even come near what he wants for it. Mostly for the fact that the condition is just too bad. Now, here's the funny thing. The other one, which has more of the brighter, bolder colors. So let's take a look at this. Let's make it real close in the focus, and let me try and make it real clear for everybody. This is a massive, heavy played, bent, creased, dented. Holy crap, it is in rough condition. There's no way to lie about it. So the issue is, okay, the condition is so rough that it's literally having these kind of crease chunked style lines when you try to bend it or move it. The issue is also fake cards tend to bend and start creasing and doing things like that. In other words, it will not pass the bend test. I am not going to bend this and test the bend test. I can slightly touch it and I can already see it wanting to rip and separate more. We don't want to do that. So we're going to kind of leave it try to be very sensitive to leaving the same condition that we are handling this. But the problem is, I mean, that kind of a crease is going to make a lot of buyers nervous that it's a rebacked or a damaged or just generally a fake card. Although, I believe the card to be authentic. Under magnification, the rosette pattern, the actual text versus the rest of the printing, everything looks pretty good. The actual borders, there's no inking, it's dirty and everything. But for the pricing, I mean, I'd have to get this for pennies on the dollar for me to take the chance to try to find someone who wants something this bad. I can't do it. Unfortunately, you're going to run into that. A lot of sellers are going to have certain cards that they're just like, it's still a beta jet. It is. And it's still real. The problem is, it doesn't mean it's still a good buy for a store, a collector, or an investor. And you have to know when you can't, you just got to walk away from it. I want to buy every piece of power in the world, but at the end of the day, you have to know when it's just not going to work. And this is a situation where I just can't buy these. The pricing, I mean, I would have to offer literally, oh my God, like $500 for me to want to buy this. And even then, I'd be nervous getting that low. And then the same thing with the other one. Let me get the focus back down here. So the same thing with this one. The fact the other one is in better condition and it's not all ripped up like this one, but the faded coloring is going to freak some people out and you can have some issues on selling it or returns if you do online. I don't want to go down that path. It's simply just not worth it. So one other thing I really, really like in this video is, I haven't gone the other videos, is this actual Sapphire. This is absolutely a beautiful, absolutely a gorgeous Mox Sapphire. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm building it up a little too much. I mean, it's nice, but I don't think it's... So this Mox Sapphire is in probably the nicest condition of all of them. And I'm not saying it's in mint condition or anything, but this beta Sapphire, with nicks and everything, is probably the nicest piece of power out of all of them. It does have a bent corner. You see that in the top left? It does have a bent, damaged corner, so it's not like I can get it graded or anything, but overall has the least amount of surface damage. There is no actual marking. There's no actual inking on the edging. There's no Sharpies. There's no dents. The under magnification, the rosette pattern looks good. It didn't look like a rebacked card. The text looks nice. the actual under magnification, you can see the solid letters versus the rosette pattern on the background, and the actual everything looks really nice. I'm really happy. The feel, the color, everything about it is fantastic. I'm really this, for example, this particular piece is probably one I'm actually not going to resell or try to flip or actually sell to anybody. This is probably going to be a one I'm probably going to keep because it's just simply beautiful. I just like it, and I really don't have much at all in the Sapphire world. I have a ton of white border power, probably about 30 or 40, but something like this is something I need to kind of increase on. One other thing, the pearl, I wanted to mention this one. Wow, look how everyone's like, wow, that one's in great condition. Well, here's the thing. This one is in pretty good condition, but there's something we really need to point out. So if you guys look at this, there's no inking or anything like that, but you have an issue. You see on the left, there is actually some form of stress crease mark on the left side. Do you guys see that? I don't know if you can see it real well in the camera, but there is actually almost a tiny stress dent type of crease, rip type of tear. I don't know if that was caused by people in the past trying to bend test or testing it. There, you can kind of see that line right there. Do you guys see that? Right there. So again, beautiful piece of power still. No inking. Everything else is great. Passes rosette pattern, textures, quality, feel, thickness, blah, blah, blah. By the end of the day, it is not going to be a gradable item. It's not going to be something that's going to be, a really PSA, BGS 910 range. It's just not there. So this is going to have to be something that's going to have to be sold raw. And again, it still has a very good amount of value to it, but you can't overpay when the card, the conditions, everything, you guys. Now, final thing before we wrap this up into the final video of what I tell you guys I actually paid for it and everything like that. Let's talk about the Beta Lotus. First thing, let's talk about the signature, the Chris Rust signature. When I first saw this, I had sent some pictures to a couple of people. I even sent a picture to Dan at vintagemagic.com. I was like, hey, take a look. What do you think? And even he replied and said the signature, the C in the signature is not quite the infamous curved C for the Chris Rust signature. And it kind of got everyone a little concerned. But then I did more research. We did find some other eras and times where he did more of a sharper type of C on the, I have matched it on many other ones, some that I know have proven to be legitimate, and he's in the picture. So, the signature is legit, but it's a slight different variant. It kind of reminds me of, let's see, I have some other ones around here. Let me zip over here. Let's, what if I want to show you guys. Oh my God, the focus, you guys can't see anything. So if we zip over to those duals, you guys remember how, like, for example, if you look on here, Brian has his signature like that, and he has different versions of his signature. Now, a lot of them, like old Jesper, his is always pretty consistent. Rob Alexander is usually pretty consistent. Sometimes he writes Alex instead of Alexander. I think I have an example of that, actually. If you guys look, yeah, see, look. So there's more of a shortened Alexander. So there is some variance. Mark Poole usually has that very distinctive style. It's not really that major of a deal because, like I said, it's not... There's one Alexander down there. I think that's really about it. We got some other styles. There's a Raymond signature over here. He's got a really cool signature, I always thought. Some of them are a little more difficult to see on the black cards. I think that's it. So anyway, let me zip back over here. So I just want to point that out. I thought that was kind of an important little thing to discuss with you guys. Now, valuing and discussing this Lotus. All right, so let's zoom in here. Let's take a look at everything. Let's get so it's a little lighter. You guys actually flip and see something, right? So... the Lotus is nice. For example, if you go on eBay right now, you have Beta Lotuses that are in similar condition. You're going to have these things listed on eBay for probably like 8,000, 9,000 played and stuff like that. In reality, you're hoping to probably get around 5,000, 6,000 for a condition like this. Maybe 7 if you're lucky. Again, it's not a bad card, but it's just been played. Look at the surface. And the biggest thing, look at that corner. Ouch. So we have definitely a played Beta Lotus. It's legit. It's still worth money. Don't get me wrong. I still want to pay, at least $4,000 for the card. I still want to buy it. But the problem is you cannot overpay. Like originally there's discussions and I talked to the individual and he was at like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 for the card. And I just, I was honest. I was like, I just can't do it. I can go on eBay and literally buy the same card cheaper or buy a better condition one. And you run into that stuff and it's not, you can't get mad at the seller because he wants a higher premium or he values it differently than you. It's just something that you have to understand that there is going to be different valuations with different people. Everyone is going to have a different opinion, and you're going to need to be able to distinguish which ones to walk away from. And that's very, very important. Now, doing on a really big transaction like this, so for everything, pretty much the seller Okay, so we've gone over most of everything. You guys have a pretty good idea of what's going on, of all the cards. So, long story short here, let's sum this stuff up. So the seller pretty much, with all this stuff, including the 4 main boxes with all these individual cards, with all kinds of different stuff around here. You guys remember the Lion's Eye diamonds. You remember all kinds of stuff around here. The seller pretty much wants, you know, I think it's about 51,000-ish, maybe to 55. The problem is we're not going to be able to do that. And, you know, this is the final thing. I want everybody, now that you've seen everything, what would you guys think is a good offer for a collection like this? Anybody who wants to take the time and say, okay, plus 5, plus 8, plus 6, plus 12, plus 1,400, plus 1,200. I'm curious what people come up with. You know what? I forgot to go over that. I forgot to do that last minute. Hang on a second. I want to do this real quick. I forgot to talk to you guys about this mock Sapphire. Here's an interesting story. This is one where, for example, the seller wants like, you know, I think it was like 1,100 on the spreadsheet. Here's the issue. I can't pay anywhere near that for this card. What happens many times is people get their cards graded and they want a very high premium. Unfortunately, even though it's a PSA graded card, the condition is so bad I cannot sell it or do anything with it slabbed and graded as a 4. I mean, it's terrible. This is a card that's going to have to be cracked out of the case and sold raw. If you go on eBay right now, hit Unlimited Mock Sapphire, hit Sold Listings, you're going to see the last 2 played Mock Sapphires in this condition probably sold for around $600 a card. Therefore, a card like this, I'm only going to be able to offer probably something like $400. So even if I sell it online, I can make what? $50 maybe, and hopefully I have no issues or fraud or scams, and you know I can sit on it for a while. You know, something like that. Unfortunately, that's just being realistic. Now, if this was a PSA 10, dude, we're looking at $2,000. I mean, minimum. I would do an instant $2,000, instant. And I mean, you know, it's just unfortunately the condition on these things really is that big of a deal, and a lot of people don't get that. Now, again, players don't care. You put in double sleeved, you put in your deck, you play vintage 93, 94. Like, I don't care what you play. That's fine. But the thing is, you need to understand the market share of the type of cards you're going to buy, the price point you're going to get in, and who you're targeting to sell them for. This would be an example of a card that I would probably pay $400 or $500 for. I would crack the case, put it on eBay for $6.99, and then see how long it takes me to find a buyer. Maybe 3 to 6 months, and then probably make 10-15% if I'm lucky. That's the whole thing. So when the seller wants a card like this and he says, well, I'm at like $1,000, I'm pretty firm. Even if he came down to $900, it's just I am better off going on eBay and buying the $650 Sapphires that are played like this and just buying them on eBay. So, and it's not his fault. It's not my fault for being too low or his being too high. It's just there are times that the buyer and sellers aren't going to agree on things, and that is okay. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. People take it personally. Some of the store owners will say, oh, you don't understand the value of your cards. You know, some of the people who try to sell their cards say, no, I do. And it almost escalates, and you don't want that. The key to all this stuff is open communication so that the person, there's a lot of trust with each other, and you're very calm and open. As long as you can do that, you can do the larger transactions without a problem, you know, but you can't get emotional. You can't get emotion involved with this. You have to keep it very cut and dry, and some people can do it, some can't. That is it. So you guys got the whole thing. That's the end of the video. That's the collection. We've gone through it all. I think we skipped over a few small things like the vaults and everything. But overall, you guys have seen what's what, how I valued it, the things I've looked for, the process of checking all these things, how long it takes. Even like the 8 Lotus that we talked about the other day, you know, like I said, the fact that it has a subgrade of 7, I'm probably going to crack this out of the case and try to sell it raw. You know, things like that. So that's all I have. Rudy with Alpha Investments, giving everyone's final feedback. The final video coming tomorrow probably is going to be, I'm going to show you what I officially bought and what I officially paid, and I want to see how accurate everybody is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, may your taco always remain floppy. Giggity.